over the edge. Feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling exaggerated, that's what you assume. The story's over now, I must conclude. I am conflicted, watching where I step still, hanging in the balance. Not the life I want to live, I want to take it all, standing tall. Fear I weighed the person you are. Oh, break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it in a sense, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
Hello everybody and welcome to the World Open and a day number 4 here as we welcome the two players for the last 16. It is going to be an absolute clash of, well, previous champions, that's for sure, but also the two real favourites to try and reach the semi-final stage at least. With Ryan Day and Artemi Zizens at the other side of the draw, it is going to be the battle for the quarter-final spot, but it is going to be a sort of a bit of a hidden battle for the semi-final as well, because realistically, if we're going to witness either Shaun Murphy or Ronnie O'Sullivan to come through this match, they should be a real favourite for the semi-final appearance as well. But this is going to be a really interesting one, and unfortunately, the more I think about it, the lesser of those times we can actually see Shaun Murphy to be losing those matches, as you can see Ronnie there is asked by the referee, because of course he's going to be the second seeded player. Remember, it's Shaun Murphy that has got the higher ranking in him of the world number 8. So I suppose that's why he's going to be very much the left part of the table. Not that it matters, but still could be an interesting factor later on to consider, because he's, for the first time in many, many years, we're going to see Shaun Murphy to be ranked higher than Ronnie O'Sullivan. The last meeting between the two of them was, of course, at the Riyadh Championship season, and at that point, Ronnie still had those ranking points for the UK Championship of 2023. This is no longer the case, and he sees himself to drop out of the top 10. But ultimately, you know, it's an interesting matchup, this, but unfortunately, you know, the way that this season has gone, the way that the previous meeting has gone, can't really see the way that Ronnie's going to be able to run away with it. If you think about the way that he starts matches, he always seems to lose a couple of frames. Yes, he hasn't done that so far this season, and that's great. So far these tournament, I should say, as he's about to break off. Well, we're only won 14 times versus Shaun only. Yes, so 14 out of 18, but remember, only played twice in the last 7 years since the Northern Ireland Open quarter-final in 2019, where Ronnie managed to win 5 frames to 1. Played at the Masters in 2024, where Ronnie managed to take that brilliant win against Ali Carter in the final, but of course managed to defeat Shaun Murphy 6 frames to 2. And now the last meeting, as I say, at the Riyadh Championship, by far for me personally, the worst performance I've ever seen from Ronnie. And had his chances, had multiple of them, didn't manage to take any, and in the end seen himself to crash out of the first round of the high value of a tournament. But as I say, I feel like this is going to be a massive threat for Shaun Murphy. Already thinking about a long shot, but this time around, deciding to go against it. And I feel like this is the reason why I say it. Ronnie has been probably his weakest point so far this tournament for me, against Ross Muir and against Matthew Selt, has been his long pot game. And I think it's no secret that Shaun Murphy is comfortably going to be in the top 3, at least in my point of view, of the best long potters of the season. And yes, he's probably going to be behind the likes of Jot Trump and Jiao Xington, but still, purely for the consistency basis this season. Finalists at the Xi'an Grand Prix, finalists at the German Masters, lost out to Mark Williams and Judd Trump in both of those occasions, but then still managed to win the British Open against Anthony McGill, and now finds himself snookering behind the black. So, to be fair, as simple as it looked from Ronnie O'Sullivan's point of view to do, Sean has now spent a little bit of time trying to wonder his way how to get out of this situation. Played the shot pretty well, to be fair. And Ronnie's now going to be looking at the red at the top end of the table to try and do something about it. So Ronnie still leads the hole by 83%, not surprised there. As long as it's not going to be 99%, that's all you can ask for. But yeah, I've got a couple of other tables going on as well. So Weezer against Kyren Wilson is probably going to be the most notable one for a place in the quarterfinal, and still potentially could be an eventual meeting between either Sean Murphy and Ronnie O'Sullivan, and potentially Weezer or Kyren Wilson. After both Kyren and Weezer managed to carve their way through. One needed a decider, one didn't. But talk about the decider, Sean Murphy had a bit of a struggle in the second round match really, against David Lilley, because Shu C match was pretty much an ordinary one because he lost out the first frame, but then he managed to win all the remaining ones. Oh, I'll tell you what, I said the long shot game is going to be a very important factor, and I tell you what, Sean Murphy missed that one by an absolute mile. And the first chance, he's going to go the way of Ronnie. He's got a red lined up into the middle. It's not gimme, but you still would expect to see the cue ball positioned nicely for the blue, and O'Sullivan getting himself to have the first chance, but it's not going to be the case. I said it's not a gimme, and I did have a bit of a feeling that it was going to be super important for whoever takes the first chance. You know, these were the chances that O'Sullivan was taking against Selt. Once again, didn't have to do it with a long shot, but wasn't able to cut that red into the middle, playing for the bowl colours anyway. And very fortunate not to give a mid-range shot away to Sean Murphy. So it's going to be another safety battle. So quite nervy start. And quite a bad mistake from both of the players there. Murphy for how weird of a shot he's played. And O'Sullivan just not being able to utilise the chance that was given so kindly to him. Now then, Murphy leaves two of those reds right at the top end of the blue. Let's see what Ronnie's going to be able to do with them. I mean, like, the really thinker is not really going to work here. So he's just trying to position the cue ball onto the black ball cushion. I tell you what, he's played a really good shot there. I feel like he's managed to cover up all the danger into the left middle as well. So it's only going to be a long shot into the yellow pocket, which you're never going to take on in the match against Ronnie O'Sullivan, no matter how well you're playing. Unless the scoreline is going to be 17 frames to nil. And it's just going to be a red to try and roll into the main bunch. Well, certainly I would have thought. In the end, Murphy plays a different short selection. And he's quite fortunate with the kiss that he got on the brown. Pushing the brown all the way to the side cushion. And the red that has cannoned to the brown has gone just underneath the blue ball line. So it's a safety battle. That, to be fair, a safety battle hasn't really been the biggest problem of Ronnie so far. He has been in the German Masters to an extent at the World Grand Prix. But he's been playing pretty well with his safeties so far in the opening two-round matches. But once again, it's a big step up from trying to beat someone like the world number 42 and 108 for you to go all the way to the top 10 player. This time around, Ronnie played a bit of a worse of a safety here, potentially evening out a chance here for Murphy to be taken into the left corner. I have to wait and see if that's going to be worth it. I personally don't think it is, because of the cue ball having such a difficult angle and going into the bunch from underneath anyway. I feel like he's got second to none of those chances to try and land on the black after this shot. But it seems to be taking it. Tell you what, this is going to be very interesting to see. No, he was just looking at the red next to it, to be fair. But he's still going to have Ronnie O'Sullivan in the ropes there a little bit. On the ropes, I should say, because of, you know, the top end of the table being blocked. You can't see the right and the middle part of the bunch to try and roll the cue ball up to it. So probably has to do it from the right hand cushion. But once again, the position is not quite perfect triangle there anymore. And he needs to be playing those shots pretty precisely. Played this one pretty well. As much as I feel like he's left the red into the middle. with the way that Murphy has to bridge over those reds and also how close the cue ball and the reds are going to be next to each other, you probably should tip the short selection away from him and sort of make it like it's not going to be worth the risk for you to be taking that type of a shot. And clearly has got the same mindset as me. Just going to be trying to do it all over again there and force Ronnie to be playing those shots from the side cushion until inevitably he can't do that. For that he would be using the black as the cover point. He's played the previous shot better than this, to be fair. Let's see what Ronnie's going to be able to do here though. Can he see enough of this red to try and neutralise the pace of the cue ball completely and still line it up pretty much alongside the main bunch and right underneath it? Well, I felt like I know what's going to happen here. He's going to take a risky red into the middle, and this was always going to be a bit of a problem, but it can always be turned into a massive advantage there for Ronnie if he takes those shots like that and he makes them in the pocket. Brilliant stuff though from Ronnie. Still a little bit disappointing from Murphy's point of view, the way that he's left that one very much available to Ronnie O'Sullivan. But now this is going to be the first real opportunity for Ronnie to try and do the same thing as he's done against Matthew Selt, and that being brilliant break building. His positional play has been brilliant so far in the first 2 round matches. Pot success not quite as brilliant. We have seen a couple of costly misses, but you know, still he was always able to compensate for it later in the frame and making the brilliant breaks of 42, 77, 96 and 138. Certainly helped on for him to be through to the last 16. Now just clearing up the top end of the table first, making sure the yellow and the green now are going to be on their spots. Ideally, he wants to be using the blue as well because of the pink not being available. And he's got the brown out of position as well. But he's now got 4 colours of a choice with it being lined up nicely for this red into the middle. But he decides to go for the red into the corner, which probably suggests to me he's got the pink available into their pocket. Ooh, I mean, that was close for him to be missing that red. Had to do it, to be fair, for him to be playing that shot off the side cushion. And now playing this one brilliantly for the black. This is more like it. But he still has got a very long way to go. And as I say, for me, if it's going to be Ronnie O'Sullivan to win, it will be a very close match. But if Murphy's going to win it, I feel like it's going to be a bit of a one-sided performance, which is why he desperately needs those, ideally, the first 2 frames, but especially the first one, just to make sure that finally, after those 2 frames are finished, he's not going to be 2 frames down, which is impossible if you win the first one. Now, just looking at the plans potentially as well, right into the left corner, just making sure his eyesight is not going to be giving up on him just yet, but it doesn't seem like he's too confident with this one. I mean, to be fair, the Reds are going slightly too close to the front jaw, but, well, I mean, I say that, and he's actually managed to, whether it was done on purpose or not, I haven't quite seen the distance in between the Reds, but he's actually managed to get it closer to the back end jaw instead. But anyway, manages to get himself another red available and pushes one more red towards the side cushion. Doesn't really mind that, to be fair, because right now, before that shot, the position was very much there for the taking in case Ronnie was to make a mistake quite deep into the break and leave it a total clearance of a chance for Murphy, which certainly was the case in that match of Saudi Arabia in the second frame, where Ronnie had the chance of a clearance, didn't manage to take it, and Sean Murphy managed to go on to an easy roll in the next couple of frames. Now, a referee should say get a little bit of time to be making sure that the pink can be respotted. It's not really going to do a lot of good work there to Ronnie O'Sullivan, though, because ideally he wants that pink on the blue spot, or does he? I mean, he clearly didn't want to take that red away from the blue ball spot. Let's have a look. Ronnie's taking a very close look at this pink as well. So whether he wanted to have this pink to be respotted out there or not remains to be seen. And, well, Murphy, I didn't quite catch what Ronnie was saying there, but he gave a bit of a thumbs up there, and Murphy could be seen having a bit of a laugh as well. So clearly not too much of a sort of real problems there with Ronnie and the referees, which we have seen previous history of. And now just needs to get himself back in the position control, scoring 30 points right now. which once again, if you go back to the previous meeting, was probably about the best break that you could possibly achieve there. The good thing here as well is that he's going to be the first to 5 and not first to 4, which gives Ronnie another couple of frames to try and get back to speed. But for now, I pretty much feel like he's going to be a massive favourite if he was a first to 1, because he's got a great chance now to try and take it all the way. As much as he did have loads of those reds to be occupied right next to each other, but now, you know, with him having a couple of those shots to be played, a couple of plans that he's managed to pot, and you know, just taking out those reds one by one, just has to bridge over with another one, and taking the red nicely into the corner, no problem there. So then 34 points that he scores, needs to go really low on the cue ball as well, try and play the black into the right corner, and just be making sure you're going to be positioned on 2 more reds available into the left and right corner respectively. And then at that point onwards, this is where the challenging stuff is going to appear, unless Ronnie, of course, has got another couple of reds available that you can't see from this particular camera angle. And that makes it 49 points, so about to make it the first 50 plus break of the match. Seen plenty of those already in the first couple of round matches. Now, once again, a good little cannon to those reds, and yeah, by potting that red, getting another red to be out of the way, he manages to get himself 2 more reds at least to be playable. And that gets him super close to the finish line in terms of he's only going to need those 2 reds, so 4 more shots needed. Make that 3 after the black disappears, because he's now going to have 57 points of advantage. If he eliminates 2 of those reds, he's going to have 59 points at the table. And at that point, you should have a 65 or so points advantage over Sean Murphy. Once again, the queuing is there, the pot success is there, the positional play was always there, but he's sort of overrun for the frame ball here. Whether he's got the red close to the cue ball available or not remains to be seen. Seems like the answer is no. So just as I was talking about the positional play, he still needs this red, and he's going to get it. So to be fair, it wasn't a massive problem. I just would have liked him to avoid doing that on the frame ball. But now, it's not quite going to be a maximum break, which you've seen plenty of already, attempts, not maximums actually. One of them was by Sean Murphy yesterday, super close to it as well that he got. 120 points, and as he said himself in the interview, just got overexcited there in a bit, and after doing all the hard work with all the reds and the blacks, just unable to pot the yellow at the end, and Ronnie was super close to basically replicating that result, but stumbled on the last and the 15th black before having the cue ball to go in off into the yellow pocket. So 113 and 120 points that both of the players have scored respectively. But once again, Ronnie seems to be on an absolute roll here. And the best thing about it is we have seen Ronnie play like that, but this season, but it always comes in the third, fourth, or fifth frame. It never comes in the first one, unless it's going to be a first round match against a qualifier or a lucky loser. But now, this is certainly going to be all about the performance. Just want to see a century break as well. It looks like I won a little bit too much. It's a break of 96 points again. So it's going to be double or nothing here. And is he going to be able to get it? It's close. It's a treble. And it's not quite going to be close enough there. So it's a break of 96 points, which still sees Ronnie O'Sullivan taking a very important frame away and get himself into the lead. 1 frame to 0 against Sean Murphy. And if there was any doubt, if Ronnie is going to be bothered about it, there certainly is not going to be any doubt now. He is turning up. And he's not just turning up physically. He's got his mindset, he's got his game, he's got the technique. Has he got the result? We're about to find out in 4 frames time, potentially, if it is to take this one all the way and make it a complete repeat of Matthew Selt and Ross Muir to an extent as well. Mark Cullen, by the way, is going for a 137 of a clearance. 129, I should say. 137 are the points that he scored, but 129 is the break. Fantastic start for Allen against Joey Long, and Wu Yize, the player that I have predicted to win the first frame massively against Karen Wilson. Look at that for the break. So Allen's got 129, Wilson's got 112, O'Sullivan's got 96, and Ryan Day and Artemi Zizens are still battling away for the first frame. So very much high scoring out there. But as I say, we're going to keep an eye on Ryan Day against Artemi Zizens, because potentially these could be the two opponents that either Sean Murphy or Ronnie O'Sullivan will play in the quarterfinal. Nice first frame certainly was. Just needs to make sure he does the same thing in the second frame. Still, no points scored for Murphy, and ultimately, apart from that weird shot into the right corner, right at the start of the frame, I feel like Murphy hasn't actually tried to unleash the real power of his game, the long shot, and that's going to play to the hands of Ronnie O'Sullivan for now. Because if Murphy's not going to be taking those chances, and especially the way that Ronnie was getting those two previous chances, one of them was missed, respectively, into the left middle, but the other one was certainly made. And the best thing for Ronnie was he didn't even have to go for a long shot, and he was able to find himself very much winning that frame comfortably. Fantastic break of 96 points. Yes, he managed to run himself out of position on the last red, but he was positioned very awkwardly anyway, and it's not like it matters. He won the frame at that time anyway. And the last thing that he needs to focus on are gonna be the century breaks. Interesting point from Murphy though. He needs to try and get himself to actually play some snooker here, because if he's not going to be doing that in the second frame, you know, as much as I say he was the favourite before the match had started, but that didn't really have Ronnie O'Sullivan winning the first frame to nil with a break of 96 points. But also, he didn't have Murphy to be playing those weird short selections to an extent, as he's about to break off. So then, let's see if he's left anything available. He has left anything available. He's left a long shot available to Ronnie. Now, is there going to be a way for that cue ball to be getting past the black and the red? And I have to tell you, I'm more focused and worried about that than I am about the long pot, as no surprise that he was missed. As I say, still probably the weakest point of Ronnie O'Sullivan's campaign so far. Now, the cue ball has gone quite far up the table, but has he managed to get the cover from two of those reds? I mean, it's a horrible plan to be faced with, but you still would expect Murphy to take it and ultimately to make it into the right corner as well. As I say, as much as there wasn't really a way for Ronnie to say, I'm not going to be taking that shot on, he still had to make sure that cue ball was a lot closer to the bulk line area than he actually was. So, whatever it is, Murphy has got a bit of a decision to make, and it's an easy decision, to be fair, but he certainly needs the execution. This plant looks very simple, but it looks absolutely horrible at the same time. And look at that, absolutely brilliant. I mean, that's the way to play that plant. The red absolutely hammered in, and the second red, with how much of a precision there was, is going to be left over the pocket, but this was always going to be the problem for Ronnie. One long shot missed, and the clinical game that Murphy brings to the table, this could easily be one frame each from the next time that Ronnie comes back to the table. But for now, it's Murphy's time now to try and shine. As I say, he's lost the first frame against Shu Si in quite a dominant fashion, really. Murphy was trying to find a comeback, didn't manage to do so after him missing the yellow on the 6-ball clearance. But now he's managed to win 5 frames on the bounce at that point anyway, is my point. And we've certainly seen him do that before against Karen Wilson at the Xi'an Grand Prix. 5 frames to nil, brilliant performance. But now it is going to be against very much turned up Ronnie O'Sullivan. So 15 points is the advantage. Still having a couple of those easier to try and navigate his way through, but probably very similar position to the one that Ronnie had in the first frame, to the extent that he's got some of those reds available. But, you know, probably the counterpoint to that is going to be Ronnie could have sort of tried to make his way through those reds in a way that he was just going to be taking them one by one. I think he hasn't got that luxury, but he certainly has got the luxury of playing brilliant shots like that and now getting himself lined up surely for a very comfortable stroll towards a potential frame-winning break there. All of a sudden, you know, one shot sometimes can change the entire picture on the table, and especially with how well he managed to control the cue ball and actually get himself closer to the black and position even better than you usually would expect the players to do so. The problem is going to be the fact that he's got the paint to be covered up, but once again, it shouldn't be a lot of an issue with him having the remaining 5 colours very much all on their spots. Although his overplay for the black here slightly finds the cue ball slightly underneath the black, about half ball. So the problem with those type of shots is you need to make them into the pocket, but also you need to be using the other couple of reds to control the pace of the cue ball. And he's just about managed to play that shot well enough. Seems like he's going to have only one of those reds available, but still, very much an easy one. And you feel like the biggest problem of the shot is going to have to be trying to send the cue ball all the way, position for the blue. Whatever you do, still don't make that front jaw of the pocket. And to be fair, the angle on the camera was a bit misleading. He was not even close to it. Now then, trying to use the brown and bring the cue ball back down the table once again. Positioning with a little bit of distance in between those reds and the cue ball. Trying to take it into the corner. Yeah, the fact that he's lost the position of the cue ball a couple of shots ago certainly didn't help on the black. And he's going to get himself positioned once again slightly underneath the black here. So still, Murphy doesn't seem to show any sign of a trouble or, the fact that he's worried or anything like that. But he still would like to be positioned better for the black in the next upcoming shots. And he certainly managed to recover there, brilliantly taken into the corner and position even better on those reds into the left part of the table. That gave him an opportunity to try and choose whether he was going to be playing for the blue or the black. With him deciding to go for the blue, I tell you what, this could be a really quick fire match, this, especially with the way that the 1.5 frames have gone so far. It was always going to be very close, and you're never going to shut down Murphy completely unless it's going to be the incredible Chang Min-yu performance in the first to 4 match, which, to be fair, with all the respect to Ronnie, he's been still way off in relation to his performance so far this season, but at least he doesn't find himself 2-0 down after those 2 frames, and whatever will happen, that won't be the case. But the problem for him is going to have to be the factor of the 96 points of a break that he had in the first frame is about to be neutralised here, and very much restored to parity there from Shaun Murphy's point of view. He only needs a red and a colour to go with it. Once again, a rest shot. And the thing about Murphy is that you look at his game and you don't see any weaknesses, which is why I was a bit surprised with the way that he was approaching the first frame. All he had to do is exactly what he's done here. Take his chance. You were always going to get one from Ronnie O'Sullivan, and just try and take it all the way. Yes, to be fair, he was playing a decent safety game as he now takes the frame ball away. And it was Ronnie that found a really good shot into the middle. But still, you felt like that could have been easily avoided. And now, all of a sudden, it could have been a 2-0 lead for Shaun Murphy. Instead, he finds himself very much back to score draw. And with it being 1 frame each, still a great chance for a century break and a high-scoring one for sure. It's not quite going to be another attempt for a 147, but it could still be a 140 if he takes the remaining 4 reds with a black and makes it a total clearance. So then still very much a high-scoring type of break so far, and it's only been half an hour, and we already know the outcome of the first 2 of those frames. Now, once again, Murphy just able to get those reds to be split up away from the pink, and trying to take one into the right middle without making a push shot. And underplay slightly for the black here, so this is probably going to be the first real issue that he's got ahead of himself. And, I mean, that looked like there was an element of fade there, but with how much power there was actually added to that shot, it probably was just a bit of an illusion from me. Brilliant shot anyway from Murphy, and he's able to get himself lined up for a century ball now on the pink. Still trying to catch the formidable Zhao Xington in that race for the most centuries make in the season. And as far as I'm aware, with him making that century yesterday against, can't remember who his opposition was. It may have been Long Zahyun, to be fair. And able to find himself now very much in the next round draw. And just having a look there, Ronnie, towards Shaun Murphy's camp. It's another brilliant century break by Murphy, though, as he's trying to get himself to be the player with the momentum, trying to carry over into the next couple of frames. It's not quite going to be a 140, but it still can be a very nice response to the highest break of the day, certainly. Mark Cullen holding that for now of 129 points scored in the first frame. It's now about to be beaten there. Murphy's able to put 4 more balls there as the green disappears. He's not even going to need the black for that. 117 points now for him. Position for the brown nicely and just transition nicely on towards the blue. And once again, you can see similarities between that match of Shu Si, because as much as he was such a good frame win in the first one, ever since that point, you feel like there were certainly 2 centuries made by Sean Murphy, but the way that he's managed to dominate every single one of those frames, apart from, I felt like it was the 6th one, potentially to chart, no, it was the 5th one, wasn't it? He's about to go 2-3 down, sort of leading 3-2, but then ended up still winning that 5th frame and getting himself a gap and a lead of 4 frames to 1 as he now takes the pink and the black into the right corner, and it's now going to be a fantastic rake from the Magician Murphy, and it's the perfect response there from the world number 8 that gets himself back in the equation here for this match, and it's now going to be Ronnie O'Sullivan 1, Sean Murphy 1. And once again, this time around, it's going to be advantage Murphy because he was the player that was able to win the previous frame. Let's see if he's going to carry over into the next couple of those, because I'll tell you what, Wilson seems to be on the roll as well. You feel like this match is going pretty quickly. As much as the opposition of Wilson is going to be all about trying to play fast, Karen manages to take another frame away from Weezer. And I'll tell you what, it certainly has been a little bit of time since we've seen Karen to get really far towards the ranking event. You know, he's very famous this season for winning the Shanghai Masters and the Triple Crown Masters as well. Game on. Well, as much as it is, I feel like when Murphy started, and I always said this to myself yesterday, when it's a draw, I feel like it's advantage Murphy. When it's O'Sullivan in the lead, it's obviously advantage Ronnie, but you know, feel like if it's a draw, I always give the edge away to Murphy here. So let's see the way that the 3rd and the 4th frames are going to go. I feel like with Ronnie, you probably will take 2 frames each, but you can't afford to be 3-1 down whatever happens, because that just gives all the aces away to Murphy, and you can't be doing that in the match, in the battle for a quarter-final. By the way, I looked at the 2 matches, but Ryan Day and Artemis Isn't are still battling away there. And despite having a 40 points of a deficit in the 2nd frame after winning the 1st one, Ryan Day is going to be the player at the table. So potentially still getting a decent chance to try and take a 2-0 lead as well. Mark Cullen very much having a similar sort of pursuit against Joey Long in the 2nd frame. But yeah, if we are to go through the head-to-head, there's not really a lot of sense to be doing that, to be fair, but because of a break in between the frames. As I mentioned, Masters in 2024, the campaign that Ronnie managed to win. Overall, his last Triple Crown title to this day. And Sean Murphy lost out to Ronnie O'Sullivan in 2019. So, barring those 2 meetings in 24 and 25, the last meeting has to come in 2019 in the Northern Ireland Open and the Shanghai Masters final, where Ronnie managed to win his last tournament, where he was against Sean Murphy in the final. Who's the winner of these playing next? It will be either Ryan Day or Artemis Zizan. So for me, no disrespect to either one of them, but it's a battle for the semi-final. But we'll have to wait and see who's going to come out on top there. Both players shown some great break-booting skills, but ultimately, as I say, because Murphy did his one more recently, he's going to be advantage to him, and he still has very much a couple of cards unleashed there in terms of his safety battle, which usually gets the better of these opponents, but also the way that he's able to, you know, take a half-hearted chance into a real opportunity there. And this, well, could be the perfect demonstration for that. He's got a long shot available. This is going to be the first time he's going to go for it. And look at that. This is exactly what I was talking about. And this is exactly why this match is going to be in Sean Murphy's favour to me. A brilliant shot that. Ronnie didn't do anything wrong with there, but still, he finds himself very much sat in his seat. And if you look at the way the previous frame has gone, the position is going to be very similar to it. He could well find himself sat at his seat for the remainder of this frame. But just because that happened in the 2nd frame doesn't mean that it will happen again. And as much as the position is similar to the one that Murphy had in the previous one, he's still going to have a couple of variables to try and make his way through. The most significant one probably being the inability to try and pot the black with relative ease into the right corner. As now Murphy gets himself positioned for the black to be taken into the left corner, trying to stun the cue ball with a previous shot, playing the shot quite well, and now trying to play around those reds, get the cue ball closer to the side cushion, and it's going to be all about just trying to take those chances away, take the red into the right corner, play the black into the opposite side of the table, and then try and take the red away right next to the black. So this time around, I feel like the only problem and the only difference in between those two breaks that Sean Murphy's going to have is that the factor of he can't really try and send the cue ball into those reds from the red, but what he can always do is use his mind pretty well, and he knew he had that red next to the black available to him, whatever happens, as long as he manages to keep hold of the cue ball, and now he finds himself lined up nicely for this red, right next to the black, and all of a sudden, 2 shots done, and he's managed to open up those reds brilliantly well. Similar to the one that he's had in the previous frame, but this one was a lot higher from the IQ's perspective, the way that he's managed to take his chance, which had available to him, simply because he was playing the shot off the black, which you're playing for the red. You always knew he was going to have that red position next to the black into the left corner, so he didn't really need to take all the notice in the world of the way that he needs to take that chance, and that has allowed him to be getting a 30 points of a break. Interesting fact, every single one of those players so far in the first 3 frames have had a break of exactly 30 points at some stage, so whether it just shows you that they're going the similar route of trying to use the black plenty of times, but now Murphy needs to be bridging over the red, which as much as he's got the angle to try and aim for the entirety of the pocket, still would have liked to avoid having to play that shot, but able to find himself out of any sort of danger zone pretty well, although he's once again overplayed slightly for the black. But I mean, I've been saying that on 3 occasions the previous frame, and neither of them seem to have cost him a millimetre worth of tablecloth, and he always seems to get the black perfectly into the heart of the pocket. This time it's not going to be any different, and once again it's now going to be 184 points, all of them without answer. And that's certainly the response that Murphy would have needed. He's now going to be trying to get another red into the right corner, positioned pretty well, and getting that cue ball to go all the way past the black, and once again getting himself lined up pretty straight on this one. So play the cue ball through the black and get the white lines up for probably the last of those available reds, certainly the one that looks to be in the open play. Whether he's going to have any more of the 6 reds underneath the pink remains to be seen, but once again his positional play has been superb, but also his ability to split the back in a single shot so far. He's needed 2 shots like that in 2 of those frames, and both of them seem to have worked out absolutely perfectly. So still, I feel like here though, he's going to be lacking a little bit of the angle on the black, so it may be a change of a direction there, and he clearly played for a plan to be taken into the middle. And the only way you're going to be playing those shots is that you're absolutely certain that these plants is going to be taken all the way, unless he's trying to play for the red into the yellow pocket. I mean, that was the shot that he's taken, but look at that. I mean, is there going to be any flaw in Sean Murphy's game? A brilliant shot into the yellow pocket, always had the backup of the green, of the pink I should say, but how well has he played that one? Perfectly into the heart of the pocket. But he may have actually played this one too well, because I was about to say perfectly straight on the black. He may not even need to be perfectly straight on the black, and he might have been looking for a bit of the angle, because technically, if he makes the black in, he still needs the red after it, and Ronnie can still find himself at least coming back to the table for one more time. I still feel like it's not really going to happen, because Murphy's going to have to take this black anyway, whatever he does, unless he wants to try and put a colour safe, which probably is going to be more reasonable. 62, 69 doesn't really make a massive difference. So is he going to be putting a colour safe? He does seem like it. Just trying to take the yellow and put it somewhat safe. So a bit of a surprise that he wasn't really rewarded after that brilliant red into the yellow pocket. But once again, it's probably the right decision for him. The fact that he had to take the yellow onto the side cushion. And once again, the difference between having a 62 points lead whilst having 75 points at the table doesn't really mean anything if you still have got 6 points that you can potentially lose and still force a respawn, or 5 points that you can lose and still win the frame there. Ronnie trying to get rid of the red by the right side cushion. Of course, he's got a couple of issues now, Ronnie. And the biggest one being is that he spent a frame and a half doing absolutely nothing. Basically playing 2 or 3 shots. Well, he's played 2 shots so far before the previous one that he had. So 3 in total now in those 2 frames. And all the remaining ones have certainly gone the way of Sean Murphy. And 201 points certainly speaks very nicely for his performance in those 2 frames. Now getting the turn back to Ronnie O'Sullivan once again, trying to just use the pink as the buffer and carrying it away towards the right side cushion. Obviously wants to try and bring it back into the open play. But the interesting thing here for O'Sullivan is that you're going to have to try and keep Murphy away from those opportunities, because it's like giving a candy to a baby. He's just going to snatch it off your hands. And this is exactly going to be the story of this frame, because he only needs a red, really, and then he's going to be lined up perfectly for one of those 5 colours, surely. And then even if that's not going to be the case, 63 with 67 available, with the yellow being tied up to the side cushion, that's going to be a very different story to what it is right now, which probably is why Murphy is having a good old look to the red, close to the side cushion. Probably would have never looked at it under normal circumstances. But now, is he going to be taking this one on? He has, but I feel like he was rushing it a little bit. There was no need to be taking that red. Has he managed to get away with it, though? The red is going to drift all the way towards the right side, but it's not going to reach the end point of the pocket. So Ronnie will have to dig deep, and he's going to have to try and force another opportunity for himself. And that shot is not really going to do him a lot of justice, because I'm not sure he's managed to cover up the red by the right corner, which, as much as it's going to be a really thinker with the cue ball basically being on top side of it, he's still going to have a couple of those really thin shots that you can take into the left corner as well. And Murphy certainly can afford to be taking that. He can't really afford to having those kisses, though. That clearly was something that he wasn't planning to do. But also the previous shot probably forces Ronnie to be going all out attack here. There's not really going to be any point to trying to hang in those safety battles for a lot longer. And he got the red in, but as I say, he's got horrible position now to try and make his way through. And he's just about going to be lined up for the brown. But I tell you what, if he was just a yellow a couple of shots ago, now he's got 2 of those reds on the left side. He's got another red to be onto the black ball cushion, and he's about to lose 3 points straight away in the best case scenario if he takes the black. And is he going to get lucky, or is he going to be unlucky there? Because after taking that brown, he's got one of those reds to be away from the side cushion, but can he see enough of this red to be taking it into the right corner? Not sure what the answer is going to be. I feel like if he can see it, he should be able to spot it as well, but if not, he's going to be forced to take a really nasty shot into the middle. The front jaw is always going to be looking at you for me. Let's see what's he going to be there. Is he going to be front jaw to catch? He will. Always said it. Those are the killer shots for me. And you always feel like you're aiming towards the back end jaw, but you always seem to catch the front jaw anyway. So that was the opportunity. Needed to play a better shot from the brown, to be fair. Can't blame it or anyone else. And Murphy's only going to have a red and a colour to try and take. And well, to be fair, yes, he's going to need a red and a colour, because now he's got 58 points of advantage, 59 remaining. But unfortunately for Ronnie, that comeback came a little bit too late, and he wasn't able to do anything with it anyway. So then, it is going to be a 2-1 advantage to Murphy, should the brown disappear into the yellow pocket, and he certainly will. No mistake taken, and Murphy, despite it being from the second time, he's able to get himself over the line and to guarantee that he's not going to be on the losing end after the first 4 frames, which is always a nice thing for you to be seeing after losing out the first frame. So far, this is exactly what we've seen in the match of Shu Si from China. Only that more experienced and a lot more titled of an opponent sat next to him. So then the blue to be taken into the middle. So this is now going to be a real nice tutorial for how close it could have been if, of course, Murphy's not going to be playing with any sort of care, and he hasn't got any pressure on him or a need to be taking all of those reds. But now he takes the easiest one away from the black ball cushion, and now trying to take the red, which O'Sullivan put right next to the top side cushion. But to be fair, it's not really going to give you a realistic picture, because if Ronnie makes that red in, then there would not have been any red for Murphy to try and play. And in the end, it certainly is going to be Shaun Murphy to try and take it all the way. And now he's going to have a 2-1 advantage next to his name, and 220 points, with an answer of just 5 of those being scored in the last couple of frames from Ronnie O'Sullivan. Now once again finds himself in a position where he needs to respond now, otherwise he's going to be under real threat of not making it all the way to the end. And yeah, he's going to be faced with a really tough deficit to try and climb his way back through. He still finds himself within a touching distance, but now that's going to put Shaun Murphy into being a comfortable favourite for the remainder of the match, as he now leads Ronnie O'Sullivan 2 frames to 1. Same scoreline with Karen Wilson, by the way. So Karen has lost out the third frame, with Weezer making a break of 80 points. And Karen clearly didn't have enough points for him to try and continue the frame from that point. Joey Long is about to lose the second frame to Mark Holland as well. Finds himself 36 points behind, with only 35 at the table. And Artemis Isens, at last, is trying to find himself getting over the line in the third frame after losing the previous 2 close ones. And Ryan Day still has got a lead of 2 frames to 0 next to his name. So 2 and 3 frames to be finished in the majority of those matches. But now, as we're about to start the fourth one, as soon as Ronnie's going to come back onto the arena, he needs to try and come back to the table as well, because I sent that into the second frame without, really wanting that to be the case. Murphy needed that second frame. He managed to respond perfectly with a century break, but now it's probably going to come a frame too late anyway. But Ronnie's going to be desperate for a frame win, and trying to get himself lined up at least with a chance to try and force a draw against O'Sullivan here. And against Murphy, I should say. And then take it to a first to 3. Not really been great in those type of formats, but sometimes, you feel like the more of the game that Ronnie's actually going to play there, the more of a chance that he actually has to try and become the older himself. And it's going to be all about that, to be fair. For now, it's going to be all about Murphy trying to extend his advantage even further, get himself lined up with a 3-1 lead, and make sure he's going to get as comfortable as he can get there against the 7-time world champion, former winner of the World Open here, of course, as well. And Murphy, despite having such a good run of this season, will still be pretty disappointed, I would have thought, with the way that he's still going to be very much on the receiving end to the likes of Mark Selby and Karen Wilson. Now, I've had a bit of a quieter season, but obviously had their brilliant moments, and winning Shanghai Masters and the Masters for Wilson, and Champion of Champions and the UK Championship for Mark Selby, still puts them very much as the 2 players that probably had a more successful season than Shaun Murphy himself. But you feel like if Murphy's going to be winning the second title with him reaching 2 more finals, that's no longer going to be the case. Now then, it's a good break off by Murphy, managing to keep the cue ball tied up to the ball cushion. Let's see if Murphy's going to be trying to get inspired by the previous long red off Shaun Murphy. Now he's trying to play for a very tight angle. He got the fantastic red into the corner. Has he got the position on the black though? He was always going to be super tight, but he was always going to be the benefit of the doubt. And that is absolutely a brilliant way for Ronnie to try and respond to the unstoppable machine of Shaun Murphy in the last couple of frames. I'll tell you what, this match could not have gone any quicker than he has so far. 51 minutes on the clock since the match has officially begun, and we could still be very much lined up for another quick 4 frame as well. What a brilliant long shot that was. I mean, for all that talk from me that he's not going to be great with his long shot game, and well, didn't really get anything of that shot, and he still compromised himself for that cue ball to be super close to those reds. He's not got the pink available. He's not going to be playing for the blue either. And to tell you what, the previous shot that he's played has been quite a damaging one, because he hasn't got the angle on the black. So he needs to play this one full power, but he's got a very awkward bridging to try and do. And, well, he's got the black in. Has he got the position on the reds, though? You feel like he just about has. He's going to be able to take this shot into the right corner. Just carefully nursing the white home off the side cushion. Getting lovely little work of spin as well. That's certainly going to help his chances. Now then, still trying to stay on the black for as long as he possibly can. And I'll tell you what, last thing he's going to be worried about is going to be a maximum break. It's all about trying to stay in the match here. And you feel like now, especially from what we've seen, if he's unable to take this frame away, especially with him having a head start of 32 points, after such a brilliant opener, by the way, having that cue ball to be perfectly lined up for the ball cushion, closer to the green than he was to the brown, and still taking that red all the way. He had so much distance to travel towards the left corner. As now Ronnie seems to be thinking pretty heavily there as to what colour to play for. He doesn't seem to have loads of options, so it's clearly going to be all down to the way that he wants to be lined up on the blue. And that's what I thought. I couldn't think that he can actually get underneath the cue ball to try and position it for the pink. In the end, he could. So whether that's going to be an advantage for him or not remains to be seen. And he seems to have played this shot brilliantly well. And although he's just having a look to see where the pink is going to get respotted, because he's got a red lined up nicely into the left corner, it would seem. And as long as the pink is not going to be in the way, which it will be, that changes the perspective completely. So that's really unfortunate that from Ronnie. It's something that he probably should have predicted, but, you know, still, it's not like he could have actually controlled where the reds are going to go. So it's one of those shots that you have to just sort of try and move on from. And also, he has got the advantage of actually having a lot more difficult, but still, at least he's got a shot on. All the extensions on the cue that he can possibly imagine of. Has to be careful with his elbow being right over the yellow. Try and get the red in. Send the cue ball all the way. Has he got it? Yes, he has got it. Now then, playing this shot with a bit of a risk to it as well. On the right side of a blue. Brilliantly played. Using the entire pocket to try and drop the red as well. Certainly helps on that fact. And now it's just going to be try and, well, be back where you left off really, because he's got the shot of the blue. Whether he's going to be able to hold that cue ball for the red, probably not. Which means that he's going to need to adjust a little bit more of a power and bounce that cue ball onto the side cushion. He's tried to hold it, and it was close. It was always going to be close, but he's managed to hold that one pretty well. And you can see the fact that he's playing those shots means that he's clearly very confident in the way that he's cueing, and that can only be the positive thing for the Ronnie fans. The negative thing is he probably run himself out of reds here, apart from a couple of difficult ones that he can try and take into the middle. But I feel like I know what's coming, and what's coming is going to be a split to the pack. Is he going to be on the red? Of course he's going to be on the red. I have to say, I had a significant doubt if he was going to be on the red, but he caught the pink from underneath absolutely brilliantly there, and he should get himself lined up for a red into the middle to be taking. Close game. Ronnie fancies this game. I think, well, he certainly is, but I tell you what, the way that Murphy has played, the way that both of them has played, really. I mean, the breaks of 96, 62, and 138 so far, and now 59 and counting. I mean, you're not really going to get a closer and a better high-scoring match than this so far. The problem for Ronnie is that, for now, he's not over the line, and even when he will be, he only finds himself back level and makes it the first to three of a game, which still leaves himself with a decent chance, and you certainly don't have to question his commitment. And at least he hasn't taken it all the way to sort of, you know, need the third or fourth frames. Oh, I'll tell you what, he put himself under a little bit of pressure there. Pretty much an unwanted kiss there, you would feel. And now, two questions have to be answered. Whether this red goes into the right corner. I feel like this is going to be setting him up for a frame ball in the next colour. So similar position to the one that Murphy had in the previous frame. Of course, deciding not to play the colour because he didn't have a clear-cut path to try and position himself for the red. Now then, is this one going to be taken all the way? It was. But surprisingly for me, Ronnie has sort of thrown all the caution out of the wind, and he hasn't played, I mean, all the positional play out of the wind completely. Unless he got the spin wrong or something, he's not going to be anywhere near to be positioned on brown. And yeah, really surprising one. I mean, he puts himself about as close to winning the frame as he possibly can get, but I still wouldn't be recommending to be taking this round, especially if he's going to try and play for the red To be fair, it's a brilliant brown that he's taken, and he wasn't indeed playing for the red, which would have been the only way that he could actually lose the frame, because if you miss the brown, 67 points available, the black is still available. You could have easily taken this one all the way, but look at that. I mean, he potted the cue ball, although he pots the red at the same time, which technically actually helps him on there, as far as I'm aware, because he gives 4 points to Murphy, but O'Sullivan would have eliminated 8 points out there. The red doesn't come back, which I feel like is a little bit of a weird rule, as much as I'm very happy it is the rule right now. But yeah, it was a bit of a weird one. I don't really understand that, to be fair, because now he's going to find himself 67 points, 66 points behind with 59 at the table there. The graphic is still going to be counting that red that O'Sullivan managed to pot as the one available, but yeah, in the end he managed to get himself away with that one. So then the break is going to end for Ronnie O'Sullivan, but he is going to be coming back to the table after a bit of a nervous shot from Sean Murphy. Now, can he try and cue this one well? No, he can't. He missed that red by an absolute mile. And now then, where does this leave Murphy? Does he need 1 or 2 snookers? 59 behind, so that leaves him with 2 snookers needed. Interesting rule, that one. Yeah, I mean, because it doesn't really punish you. A foul shot should always punish you, to me. And even if you take that, right, because sometimes, you know, you're not allowed to be taking a foul shot in snooker on purpose. But sometimes I feel like it's a really difficult rule to call, because if you're going to have a choice of, you know where you pot the red, but you're like, I'm also know that I'm going to pot the cue ball, well, you're still going to take that shot on, because he eliminates 8 points, and you only give 4 points away to your opponent. So it's a bit of a weird one, but anyway, it doesn't look like it's going to be the difference between victory and defeat. Although it could have been. I mean, I say it's not going to be. If Ronnie doesn't take that red and he has the cue ball to go all the way and drop it, then all of a sudden, you know, that's equivalent of taking the brown, and that finds Murphy with 66 points behind and 67 points at the table. So it could have been a different story. It could still be a different story if Murphy is able to find the 2 snookers that he's going to be looking for. Or is it going to be 3 snookers? I mean, he's taken the blue previously. I'll tell you what, he might have actually put himself into a situation where he needs 3 snookers. So he clearly is going to be putting all the eggs and all the chips on the basket for the free ball here, because he's not going to have any other option of winning this frame, I think. He's taken the previous 3 reds with a break of 22 points here. And now trying to do something with this red, take it all the way to the lower end of the table. Of course, ignore the fact that he's got 43 points. Actually, I should fix that now. There we go. So he's got 35 points left, and Murphy has played a bit of a bad shot there. As much as he got a perfect connection on the red, he didn't manage to get the cue ball to be lined up in behind the brown, which probably would have been the main problem point for Ronnie O'Sullivan. So as I say, as long as he avoids giving foul shots on something more expensive than the brown, green, yellow, or just potting the cue ball, I'll tell you what, he's taken a really risky route there with the way that he was taking that spin. He's managed to get that red perfectly, but that was actually quite close proximity of him catching the blue at the same time, so it could have been a bit of a disaster. In the end, he wasn't, so there's no reason to be talking about for longer than 10 seconds. And Murphy just trying to cannon and spread those reds away from the cue ball, these red I should say. And now just Ronnie can afford to be taking the red into the green pocket, but whether he needs to or wants to is going to be another point there. Although he would have liked to see that red a lot further away from the green, because I'm not sure. I feel like it's going to be too close for it to be an easy snooker to be lined up. But still, you don't really want to be taking chances like that. And yeah, in the end, Murphy just trying to use the green to send it towards the left side. And getting that red to bounce and be in behind the yellow. Smart shot that. And it will require a lot of precision from Ronnie to try and take this red well. And he's trying to make it spin, not precision, on the way back. Anyway, he managed to execute that shot pretty well. So gives the turn back to Murphy here. And listen, you can't complain with Murphy trying to play on here because of the way that the previous and every single one of those frames have gone so far. And he's just made a mistake, which could have cost him the frame. In the end, it's only going to cost him the positional play here and get Ronnie O'Sullivan the chance to try and potentially get the snooker lined up in behind the green. Although easier said than done, Ideally, would have liked cue ball to be a lot further to the left side, so that it would have been a straightforward shot. Now, he may actually have to try and use the brown and the black there. I tell you what, talk about using the black and the brown. Brilliant shot there, perfectly taken. And this time around, it'll probably be Murphy that needs to play this shot off the cushion. Can't really afford to be doing that, but another thing that he can't afford is to be catching the black, and that's exactly what he's done. Murphy's clearly going to say, I'm not bothered anymore, and it's going to be a frame over to Ronnie O'Sullivan. Super close match so far, and it's only going to get better from this point onwards, hopefully, as it's Ronnie that takes the 4th frame and makes it 2 frames each at the intermission. And it's now the battle for the quarter-final spot. All comes down to the first of 3 battle, and game on it is. See you in 15 minutes time to see which one of those 2 players will actually find themselves to be in the quarter-final of the World Open.
Roaring in the morning sun, searching for a longer day. People feeling like the light has just come. We must never stop the way. Birds jumping and I hear my name. Grass green and so alive. Life is happy but it's so insane. We must merely make a start. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah. Is gonna come. The birds have just begun. We will always take a stand for the people, for the land. Let's go back to when we were young. For the animals we stand. Let's go back to when trees were swung. Across the land. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a walk. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the World Open Part 2 of the last 16 match in between Ronnie O'Sullivan and Sean Murphy. As now the intermission is about to end, the players are making their way back onto the arena, and who's it going to be with the response there? Have seen some incredible snooker to be played already, and now it's going to be the break-off shot, which potentially could be the real pace setter for the remainder of the second mini session, if you want to call it. And we're guaranteed to see 3 more frames of some great snooker to be played in between the two players. But is it going to be the match that goes all the way? And if it does, he's going to be the winner and very much to be progressing towards the quarterfinal stage. In the meantime, Karen Wilson had his gap of 2 frames to nil, got down to a draw of 2 frames each. Here we go. Sure is. Great shot though, by the way, by Ronnie O'Sullivan to start this frame away. Didn't leave any chance of Murphy even looking for a long red. And now, this could be very interesting indeed. If he leaves away a free ball, this is going to be close. It's going to be very close indeed. But I feel like the cue ball is just about gone towards, and far away from the yellow. So that Ronnie O'Sullivan could have actually seen the red. But even without studying the position, Ronnie clearly just suggesting that he's going to be asked by the referee to get that cue ball to be back. And Murphy's going to have to try and hit this one from the second time. So Murphy there just directing the referee. And he clearly feels like he's going to be fine with it. Ronnie's not going to say a word about it either. Yeah, whatever you do, Sean, you need to be making sure you get it on the second attempt, and you get it pretty well. And that's exactly what he's managed to do, getting that cue ball to get past the green as well. Played that shot super well. And now it's actually going to be probably advantage Sean Murphy here, because despite him playing a pretty difficult shot, the way that he's managed to play that shot in, he's going to leave a very narrow corridor to try and navigate his way through there for Ronnie. So whether he's going to be using the red right next to the main bunch, right underneath the pink, or the one next to it, remains to be seen. He's used the one next to it, which was a more problem of a shot to try and get the cue ball safe, and certainly helps on by the fact that he got such a good kiss of the yellow. But still, the line would have been good enough for the cue ball to go all the way towards the yellow pocket. So played that shot pretty well there, Ronnie. And once again, surprisingly for me, but his safety game has been super good, and he's been really solid throughout the entire tournament there. He's played 2.5 matches, and it's probably one of his strongest points, if not the strongest point. You know, the positional play has to be number 1, safety success probably number 2, then pot success number 3, and then you have to come back to sort of snooker escape and the long pot success even worse than that. But to be fair, I mean, I say worse than that, the shot that he's played into the 4th frame probably sort of makes up for all the ones that he's missed in the 3 matches altogether. For now, it's another brilliant shot there from Murphy, which is going to force Ronnie to try and go onto the left side cushion first. So try and bounce it towards the reds next to the black, and he seems to have played this one absolutely spot on. And yes, as long as Sean Murphy doesn't have the ability to try and take this red into the yellow pocket, with him having the position on the black, this is going to be a brilliant safety that he's played. And I feel like, especially with the red that he's taken into the yellow pocket in the 3rd frame, this is going to be a really interesting thing for me to be seeing, because if he can get through to this red, he's never going to leave anything away apart from that red. So it tells me that he shouldn't be taking this one on as much as I say, from my point of view, the black should be available into the right corner. Whether it is or not remains to be seen. But Murphy clearly doesn't feel like it is, and just going to roll that cue ball towards the red. Ultimately, that's going to put him on the back foot straight away, because you feel like Ronnie should have the opportunity to try and use some backspin shot on this. Although that's what I thought. He clearly thought otherwise, and just forced to do exactly the same thing as Murphy has done. Just to try and roll the cue ball towards those reds. So Murphy now is going to study all 3 reds that he can try and get through to. And he's got one on the left side, he's got one straight on top of the cue ball, and he's got one on the right side as well. But it's a bit of a passive shot now from Ronnie O'Sullivan, because he allows Murphy to try and get the cue ball away from those reds. Whether he's going to be able to place it onto the black cushion or not remains to be seen, but at least he can try and get it closer to the side cushion. Makes the next shot a lot more difficult for Ronju to try and take. And in the meantime, Ronju's just going to be getting that cue ball to be played away from the danger zone, which, to be fair, probably just tells you everything you need to know about Murphy. He clearly played that shot on purpose, and if he left that gap available, that clearly was done on purpose as well, so that he would open up the game, although sometimes you have to do that at the cost of you potentially losing out on a half a shot there, because now, tell me you're going to see something easy there from Sean Murphy's point of view. He's got a couple of reds, which under ideal circumstances could have been taken into the corner, but with the way that the cube will have to find his way through 3 reds and a black perfectly well, you're never going to be taking a shot like that on. So, yeah, it's going to be all about here. Trying to take this chance here for Murphy of probably just trying to get himself back within a 50-50 of a chance. He's going to try and do something with those 2 reds onto the side cushion. See what is he going to be there. Ooh, seems to have faded there. Oh, he's clearly unhappy with something there, Murphy. And he's going to be absolutely fuming with the way the end result is going to be. Because the same red, let's have a look if he has faded. Yeah, that one. To be fair, you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. That one was drifting away from the side cushion. So that's not going to be a nice thing. But I'll tell you what. It may not even be the bad thing for Murphy, because as much as we all know what Watchalong can do with those positions, this one is going to be certainly the one with a star next to it, because it's a really difficult one for him to try and make his way through. And the more points that he's going to score, the healthier the lead is going to be, obviously, but the more are the actual chances of him winning this frame here are going to be rising, but very slowly they are, because, you know, he's going to have the pink available, although, I mean, he's just potted the pink and it's now gone right in the mix of the reds. So may not even have the pink available then. He's got the bold colours, which he's about to use one more time for the yellow. But ultimately, it's going to be all down to just trying to take the yellow into its own pocket. Find that cue ball to be bounced away off the left side, even potentially using the right side as well. Depends on the way that he wants to approach this one. Though he's trying to take all the pace away from the cue ball. Just with the one cushion, which to be fair gives you more of a control, because it's always easier for you to judge the way that the cue ball is going to bounce away of one cushion and not 2 of them. Once again, that is always going to leave you with a bit more of a difficult angle, but he's played this one pretty well, just about on the right side of a blue. Yeah, I mean, brilliant. As I say, you'll only be brilliant to me if Ronnie wins this one, to be fair, but purely from the neutral's point of view, this has been an absolutely brilliant snooker to be watching, and you never see such quality in the last 16 there, especially when it comes to 2 of the players very much at the top of their game so far, and just hoping not to jinx it. But Roddy's just trying to make his way through steadily here. I feel like his best possible chance for now, as it stands, is going to be taking 4 more reds after the pink, as he uses the pocket wisely. So playing into the risky side of that jaw, but still, that's going to allow you to have that nicer angle on the next red. So then he's about to take the easier ones into the right and left corner respectively. I feel like for him to try and get 2 more reds, which I was talking about, he needs to try and get the first one in, which probably is going to get the cue ball to be sent wide and try and take the red into the right corner. 34 now is going to be his advantage. Oh, I'll tell you what, he's played a really close shot there. He seems to be confident about trying to get through to this red, but certainly didn't seem confident from the camera angle. Now then, he's played the shot with power. Let's see where the cue ball is going to finish. He's gone over the top part of a blue, but yeah, he's still going to be fine for this one. He's not going to be lined up perfectly on it. To be fair, he's probably going to be on the wrong side of a blue as well. He would have liked to be on the left side instead. That leaves him with needing a backspin shot, which makes it a lot more difficult. Now then, he feels like he's done enough there for him to have a good chance. And whether he's going to be able to take the red, which he needs, remains to be seen. Yeah, he's going to be taking the red next to the pink, which makes it a more difficult of a pot, which he's able to make his way through. And now, with the cue ball being closer to the left side cushion, then he's now going to be positioned perfectly for the blue to be taken. Doesn't need to do the same thing as the last shot. Doesn't need to use loads of the backspin, but as I say, 4 reds that I mentioned about previously are going to come to an end now. And as much as 50 points, trying to replicate the path of the white. But yeah, ultimately he's going to be still positioned just about nice enough on the blue for it not to be sort of a considerable problem for Ronnie to try and make his way through. But once again, the way that he takes those shots in just makes it look so easy. And yet when you come to the table, you feel like, how on earth is he doing that? Once again, seems to be thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead there as well, which is going to be an extra bonus. But yeah, the way that he's managed to get 2 more reds available to himself, not only did it make it look effortless, but, well, I feel like that's a mistake. And that was always going to be a mistake to me. I don't know why on earth would you go for a shot like that, because now he puts him with a do or die shot. And I know he's going to take this green into the left middle. Don't ask me how the cue was ended up there. He's played it with way too much power. He's got the angle to be opened up, to be fair, which gives him the benefit of the doubt. But you also need to be making sure that you actually get this green in. And he has managed to get the green in. Well, I'll tell you what, he got himself into that issue. But to be fair, like a true champion, he managed to get himself out of that situation as well. Basically, tried to cannon the cue ball into those reds to get even more of them to be in the open play. Completely misjudged the cannon or the power, but send the cue ball along the side cushion on the left side, all the way into the bulk area and go around the green somehow for it to be lined up into the left middle from its spot. And now he's taking another red into the corner pocket, so he's now going to be playing the brown here, trying to send the cue ball wide. Needs to go wider than that, but in the end, spin is going to do all the work for him as well here. So then 61 points of the advantage, needs his red, and he's going to be finding himself ahead in this match for the second time, but ultimately only 2 frames away from making it to the 3rd quarterfinal of the season. And it's going to be by far the best performance that we've seen from him. You know, getting himself to the final of Saudi Arabia was nice, but he still had some horrible performances and horrible spells against the like of Chang Bin-yu and Karen Wilson. So far today, he had some, well, questionable short selections, but apart from a couple of pot success sort of difficulties that he has been playing some of his best snooker of the entire season, I would say. And as much as he was cruel on Murphy to get that chance to be given away in the way that he has, with a little bit of a fade, which clearly was there, it's part of the game. Unfortunately, he can't do anything about it. As much as it is disappointing, frustrating, he needs to try and put that out of his head, but I hope he doesn't. And 3-2 of a deficit, though, will potentially force Murphy to be going for everything that is moving. And the approach that Ali Carter has taken previously against Ronnie O'Sullivan in the German Masters seemed to have worked out perfectly well for Carter, and especially with this long shot game. And now let's see if it is going to be a similar sort of scenario with O'Sullivan. You can barely keep up with the scoreline for him, which is always a good sign, because that's going to be suggesting that he's queuing well. And when he's queuing well, he's going to be playing super well indeed. Game on now. Big frame for Murphy next. Yes, absolutely. Big frame for everyone next now. We're entering the zone where he could still only be 2 more frames there. But we can about to see, don't do that, Ronnie. And, well, he's got a really good peripheral vision there, because the referee was late getting the black out. I thought he was going to commit a foul shot with him taking the yellow on before the referee placing the black. But in the end, he managed to take a little bit of a stun there and wait for the referee to respot the black in the end. And of course now it's going to be a break of 103 points as he takes the brown and makes it a century break, and he's going to be the first one for him in this match that gets him comfortably clear in terms of points scored. And once again, something that you very rarely see from Ronnie, especially against the top 10 opposition, is that when he wins those frames to a scoreline of 0. Let's see where the cue ball is going to finish though. Is it going to be close to the green pocket? Is it going to be a break of 114? Well, nothing that was said or shown by the cameraman, so I'm going to suggest that he was a break of 121 points from Ronnie O'Sullivan to make it a perfect ton there in the end and make it a 3-2 lead against Sean Murphy. Sean is going to be disappointed, but now he needs to try and throw all that disappointment out of the window. He needs to have the performance, and he needs to have the frame win, really, for him to try and get himself back level here. So far, it has been the match of a sequence. After Ronnie managed to take the first frame, Murphy has won 2 frames of the bounce. So a bit of a like tiebreak in tennis. You know, when you're out trying to get it on your serve. And so far, all of those frames have been won at that point onwards. Now it's time for Murphy to try and win 2 on the bounce. But if that tendency is going to continue right till the end, I feel like that first frame win was very much important for Ronnie O'Sullivan, because even if Murphy wins 2 frames of the bounce here, it's still going to be a decent chance for Ronnie to try and come back all the way and make himself to be the player to reach the quarterfinal stage. In the meantime, apart from Joey Long being absolutely destroyed by Mark Cullen, it has been really close in all the other matches, as Weezer is looking to try and win 3 frames on the bounce, getting himself on the break at the table, and only 3 points behind as well. Artemis Zizens has managed to win 2 frames away and take 2 frames away from Ryan Day. Could still be potentially to force Ronnie O'Sullivan or Sean Murphy in the quarterfinal. And yeah, Weezer is still going to be battling away against Karen Wilson. Kevin, thank you very much. Appreciate that. Massive legend in the chat there, sending a membership out. Thank you. Appreciate the support massively. And yeah, if you got the membership, feel free to give a shout out to Kevin. There you go. Even got the sound of the donation there. Got that one sorted a couple of days ago. And yeah, Kevin's certainly doing all the testing for me, so I appreciate that massively. And now we're about to get the 6th frame underway. From the point of view of Ronnie O'Sullivan, though, you need to try and kill the game off here. I said he was going to be 5-2 to Murphy. I'm wrong already, and I'm very glad to be. But he needs to try and make sure he doesn't get this one to a decider, because Ronnie has got a bit of a mixed history with deciders. He's managed to win one against Hawkins in the Shanghai Masters. He's managed to win one against Chang Min Yu. He's managed to win one against Karen Wilson. And then he's lost a couple. He's lost one against Neil Robertson in the final. Thank you, my birthday present to others. Oh, I'll tell you what, if it is your birthday, then happy birthday to you. An absolutely legend of the chat as well. And for the snooker fans' point of view, you're certainly going to be getting the treatment here. And we're still guaranteed to be seeing 2 more frames of snooker as well. So then, yeah, what was I going to say? Yeah, so the decider point of view for Ronnie seems to have taken a bit of a hit there, because the ones that I can remember is that he's lost the decider to Jack Lisowski, obviously, 6-5. Then he didn't have a decider in the Xi'an Grand Prix, to be fair. So against Robertson that he's lost, against Lisowski that he's lost. And then I feel like he didn't really have 2 more of those. I feel like he's managed to, whether he was a decider or not against Carter in the 2nd round of the Masters, I feel like he might have actually lost that match 5-3 or something. So, yeah, whether that is going to be the case or not remains to be seen. But now it's going to be a fantastic shot there. Well, to be fair, I'm going to say a fantastic shot because it's a long pot. It was quite a poor shot from the previous occasion from Ronnie, although it's still going to be giving a chance away in a pretty close position here to Murphy. So is it going to be very much the pattern to be continued? But this certainly is going to be the more difficult of all the positions that we've seen because of the limited access to those reds. And yeah, if you're going to try and get this red into the left corner, then it's going to be all about trying to get the cue ball lined up for the black. Or is he going to go in off? He will not. That was super close. I mean, the cue ball is going to stay in the pocket. Like, it's going to stay at the table, but he's going to be right in the pocket there. So it's a really good shot there from Murphy. It gives him all the access to those reds. But is he now going to be in the position of this match where he needs to be taking the black on? I feel like he will be. And that's going to backfire badly. This could be the difference between victory and defeat. That was the shot to be taking on. It was opportunistic, but it was the wrong shot for me to be taking on. You never should be doing shot like that because he wasn't far away and he was really good with those blacks to recover, but that was next level. And you should know how difficult it is for you to be lined up for the black from the cue ball basically being in the pocket. But look at that from Ronnie. That is going to be really disappointing not to be taking that chance away. As much as he had a bit of a difficult red to be taking, he still should have done loads better than that. And now he's going to have a chance to be given away to Sean here. Well, he's not going to be forgiving you for this one, that's for sure. It's a long shot, which probably is going to be counted as a mid-range shot for me. But wow, I mean, that is certainly going to be down to pressure now. I mean, I can't put it down to anything else. That is a horrible miss from Murphy. And he's probably even worse than the one that O'Sullivan has missed because of the angle, actually favouring the cue ball to go away from the bunch. But also, you don't really have to do anything with the cue ball. All you had to do was to pot this red, and he wasn't even close. He bounced away from the pocket, got onto the right side cushion, and actually finished all the way over the left corner as well here. So, I mean, Ronnie can't miss this one, hopefully, with the red bean in the pocket. So it's now going to be all about just the positional management, which usually is going to be one of his strongest points. I feel like the first couple of shots are going to be the most difficult ones, because sometimes you feel like the black being in the pocket is going to be as an advantage to you. I actually feel like for a professional, it's going to be one pocket less for you to be aiming towards. As now he plays a decent enough shot for him to be lined up on the green nicely. So bounces that cue ball away from the right side cushion. Yes, pressure cooker. Well, I'm really surprised by that, but as I say, we've seen that against Carter, where he was absolutely on the ropes, and then there was a drop-off from Ronnie, and he didn't really help him to win that match. He had a 3-2 lead against Carter, by the way, in the first to 5 match, and may have actually had a 3-1 lead or something like that. Anyway, he certainly was at 3-2 stage, and Carter's just turned up to the 6th frame, was going for absolutely everything, and was making absolutely everything as well. So it's never over before it's over, but I tell you what, Ronnie's got all the tools now that he needs for him to try and get over the line here. And you can see how, like, he's taken pretty much a minute on the red, which is going to be in the pocket. He's got the black into the pocket as well. So it's going to be all about the next couple of shots that he's thinking about. So then, I'm a bit surprised that he's trying to play that cue ball for the black. I'm positively surprised by it, to be fair, because, as I say, he just gets the black away from that pocket, but he's going to force that cue ball to go into the bunch of reds. And pretty unlucky with that one. He's still going to be on the red here, into the right corner, but which way is he going to be able to try and get this one into the corner and still be lined up for the black? And well, that was the thing. He was lined up very awkwardly on that red, and yeah, just needed a couple more shots there to try and find his time. I felt like he was trying to solve 2 issues with a single shot there. That black being over the pocket was an issue. It wasn't an advantage. And the way that those reds were so close to each other, you can see he's clearly frustrated there. But he was playing for the black. That's going to be good news. The bad news is I've got no clue if he's left anything easy away to Murphy. And it seems like he hasn't. Because after all the replays, Murphy still hasn't got a clue clearly what to be playing here. But that was the shot. Realistically, you can see he's got 4 or 5 reds available to him right now. He would have been lined up on the black. So is it now going to be another do or die shot into the middle? And he can't keep missing up those ones from Murphy. I called it, unfortunately. O'Sullivan needed to get this frame on the board, and now he's left it very much to Sean Murphy's disposal. That's something that he can't afford to be doing. Why on earth would you try get the black into the right corner, which is always going to be limiting the control of over the cue ball, and still try and get it into the bunch is going to be beyond me. Surely you had to try and do one of those things first. Either get those reds to be spread out across the table from the blue, so that when you pot the black, you're always going to have more of a target area to be aiming towards. In the end, whatever it was, he played a good shot, to be fair. It's just a bit unlucky with the way that he was lined up for that red. And clearly was enough for him to put him off and miss that shot into the corner. Now it's going to be all down to Murphy, which is still going to be one of the more difficult positions that we've seen so far in this encounter. Oh, I'll tell you what, this could be a bit nasty. If he's got himself blocked by the left middle, he's going to have a red available into the right corner, which he's still going to be slightly compromised on because he needs to bridge over the red. And also this cut is not necessarily the easiest one. Let's see if he's going to be able to... Yeah, he can just about get through past the red without bridging over it, which makes the shot a lot more straightforward. But yeah, to be fair, the interesting thing and the good thing for Murphy is that going to be the factor of he's 12 points clear. He only has 91 points at the table here as well, which leaves him with a great chance to sort of only take the reds that are going to be in the open play, and then he's going to have a couple more to try and add to that count. He's certainly not going to need every single one of those reds, so he can try and keep the one onto the black ball cushion very much until the end of the break. Until the point that the frame is going to be done and dusted for him. For now, just taking a little bit of time with the blue. Clearly just realising that he needs to be taking those shots well. And he needs another good shot here, though. Because I can't really see him playing for the blue. He just simply hasn't got the angle for it. So he needs to try and make his way back for the black here. Managed to play that one pretty well. And still getting that cue ball to go all the way around those reds. Off the left side. And now he's going to get himself at 25 points of a lead. So then, if you add 3 more reds to that count, that's going to limit the points that he can score. From O'Sullivan's point of view to 59. To be fair, that's still not going to be enough there. And yeah, if you're going to try and sort of put this one all the way and just take all the easier reds, I probably feel like that's going to be another wrong thing as well. Because you feel like you need to try and get rid of this red by the pack of 3 reds right next to the pink spot. And then if you're not going to be able to do that, you're going to have to do it from the black ball spot, which I always feel like is a lot more dangerous for you to be doing. Because as much as you push those reds to be over the middle, you're always going to be under a real threat of trying to push too many of them over the side cushions as well. Now then, has he played this shot well enough? He's tried to do it from the blue, and he's clearly got himself perfect setup for the finish of the frame. So it does look like it is going to be at least 8 out of the potential 9 frames out there for us to be seeing. Once again, this could well still be very much that performance against Ali Carter to be reminded of itself, with Ronnie not being clinical at a very important stage of the match. You know, he seems to have managed to finally sort out his start to the game. But when you're going to be against someone like Murphy, even at the time when he was struggling as well, you felt like that was going to be the turning moment. In the end, it could still be the turning moment, but the other way around. And he's now got 48 points of advantage there, Murphy. So taking the black will put him 55 points clear, with only 51 at the table. So then, it is now going to be indeed 3 frames apiece there. Could it be a 3rd century of the match as well, for it to be the perfect 3s out there? Still got a break of 67 points now as he takes the black, so potentially could still be lined up with a break of 111 if he used to take the remaining 2 raids with the black and then make a total clearance of 27 points as well. GG's frame certainly is, and disappointing from Ronnie though. It's a really good win from Sean because, as I say, as much as he wasn't able to take the first couple of opportunities, now he's managed to take it from the 3rd time. It's not going to be a century break unless he manages to find a fantastic fluke. Nearly did, and still nearly did with the cue ball, but in the end it's going to be the break of 76 points, which still sees him lined up very nicely for an exciting 3-frame battle. It's now going to be down to just first to 2 there. Remember what I said, the closer this match goes, the more of a favourite Sean Murphy becomes in my eyes personally, because of O'Sullivan's recent history not being great against the top seeded players, especially when it comes to trying to get over the line. Remember the first round match against Watchalong? Remember the match against Ali Carter that I mentioned? Sao Gudon in the World Grand Prix. The damage was done in the early stage, but still wasn't able to keep Sao away from the table in the 8th frame, and in the end paid the price for it quite badly. So then Weezer has indeed taken 3 frames on the bounce against Karen Wilson. Now finds himself with a 3-2 lead, an 11-point lead as well to be taking into frame number 6. So it's now going to be only us that have finished 6 frames there. And for your information, just how quickly this match has been going on so far, Mark Allen and Joey Lunt have not even finished the 4th frame, and that includes them not taking the intermission, and yet we've managed to finish 6 frames already. And down to the last 3 potentially, could be down to the last 2. If either Murphy and or O'Sullivan are able to find themselves winning 2 frames on the bounce here. So let's see which one is it going to be there. Ronnie's gone for a bathroom break once again. And referee has got the pink to be set up, so just waiting for the cue ball to take his spot. And this time around, it feels like it will be a break-off shot by Sean Murphy out there. Although, to be fair, it's an odd frame, so it may be back to Ronnie O'Sullivan. You know, the thing about those frames, is that they go so quickly, you barely notice that the player has already managed to break off, and now it's going to be the turn of his opponent. And in the meantime, Artemis Isens is very much looking to try and do the same thing as Wuiza and win 3 frames on the bounce day. He was 2-0 down against Ryan Day and now finds himself 23 points clear in the 5th frame to try and set up the clash with one of these Titans, one of the real favourites for the semi-final spot, and therefore a real good asset for the final as well, because remember, this is actually the setup for the semi-final. And Sean Murphy, Ronnie O'Sullivan, apart from Wuize and Karen Wilson, the winner of that pair, I mean, tell me they're not going to be the favourite for the final spot, really, to be achieved. Artemis Isens and Ryan Day are going to be very much the underdogs. Watchalong is going to be put into the same equation as well. Mark Allen, he's going to be a threat, and he's going to be seeded higher than Ronnie O'Sullivan there. Not so much with Sean Murphy, though, as it is going to be Ronnie to be breaking off for the 7th frame. So let's have a look where the cue ball is going to finish. Seems to always do the damage from his own break-off shots and unable to produce any damage to the long shot game when it comes to Murphy's shot, apart from, of course, doing that in the 4th frame with a brilliant fashion and taking that fantastic red, by far for me, the shot of the tournament, into the left corner there from Ronnie. But now, as I say, the damage is going to be done here to an extent. And let's see to what extent is it going to be there. A red always going to be taken towards the right corner. Is he going to be made though? He won't. But it's a smart shot that from Murphy, because as long as he didn't see that red to finish over the pocket, he was never leaving anything away there to Ronnie O'Sullivan. And now it's going to be a chance for Ronnie to try and get himself back on the front foot here. Needs that cue ball to be drifting in behind the green. It's a good line. It's a bit pacey though. Now he needs the blue to try and help him out as well. And when I say help him out, so that Murphy's forced to be taking the shot off the cushion. And it's now going to be very much an interesting part of the match here, because Murphy, I mean, to be fair, even if he can see those reds, he needs to see them, a particular part of them, so that he can try and force the cue ball to go all the way to the top end of the table. He can't just try and hit the red and say, well, I've done that. He can't be able to pot anything from that point. So you would expect him to be taking the shot into the bunch of reds and nearly going into the pink, but nearly doesn't count. And the fact that he was so close to the pink was always going to get the risk of him leaving anything away to Ronnie down to a minimum. So it's now going to be back to Ronnie to just try and give a little nudge to those reds. Of course, this could be another thing for a re-rack perspective. Does Ronnie want one when he's going to be the one breaking off? Because from what we've seen in the previous couple of frames, he always seems to leave something away to Murphy, and he seems to leave it in a way as the player's just going to be trying to give them minor touch to those reds. Let's see if let's see if Ronnie has got the chance to try and get the cue ball all the way here to the top end of the table. Probably not. And yeah, they're going to agree on a re-rack, which, I mean, I'm just going to say this right now. I still feel like that puts Ronnie into a disadvantage there, because what Sean managed to do there is managed to take a long red into the right corner. He got really close to it. He would have been lined up perfectly on the blue had he made it and been a couple of inches closer to the pocket. But I mean, does it not give him an extra chance and a free opportunity now to try and do the similar sort of thing after the break-off shot? Unless, you know, from O'Sullivan's point of view, you're always going to be like, I trust myself and my ability, but I felt like he could have hung in there a little bit longer. And now he's going to be a little bit of pressure on him as well, because if now he gives away a chance to Murphy, and Murphy, you know, say he goes on and clears the table from it, makes 112 points of a break or something, then it's going to be very much down to Ronnie of making that wrong decision there. For now, of course, it's always a bit of the advantage when you have two break-off shots back to back next to each other, because you always have the reference point of the force and the line. Now he needs that cue ball to be dead on the cushion, and it is going to be dead on the cushion, to be fair. He's managed to recover pretty well there, because he's left 3 dangerous reds. He's managed to cover up 2 of them, and the red that he's left out there is very similar to the one that he's taken in that 4th frame there. But, of course, the black had more of an angle for him to be aiming towards. Murphy's going to have a bit of an unwanted touch, but he's going to force that red just about far enough to the top end of the table. So then this is now going to be really interesting to be seen, because this battle probably has got no right or no potential to end up with the way that he has in the previous time of this frame. And, well, Ronnie, surprisingly to me, tries to get that cue ball to be lined up with the top end of the table. Whatever he does, he needs to make sure he's got the cover of the yellow and the blue. And I'm not sure he's got it. Murphy, straight away, is going to be checking the position of the black into the corner. It's a bad shot there from Ronnie. He should have known better. He clearly was trying to use the yellow as the cover point and force Murphy to be the one on the back foot. But in the end, he left him with a chance. And you know what you always say, if you miss the previous shot, you're unlikely to miss two on the bounce. Thank you very much, I'll take the jinx praise. And Murphy has indeed missed two on the bounce. And that could not have worked out any worse for him. And he wasn't even close to this one, you know. He caught it by a bit of a distance and didn't even roll in the jaws there. So, it's another chance for Ronnie. He had one in the previous frame, wasn't able to take it. The position is probably a lot more favourable to him. But once again, the starting point is where the frame is going to be won or lost here. And yeah, if you're going to be able to try and take the ball colours here, I mean, once again, he has got the absolute deja vu of the previous frame. He's only able to score 7 points out of that one. Now he needs to make sure takes it 3 or 4 steps further than that. And ideally take it all the way there with the frame. Good shot that he's played. Very much trying to cut the distance in between the cue ball and the red. Still, he's going to be forced to try and take this one along the side cushion. And played that one pretty well. Just about overplayed for the blue though. And yeah, he's probably still going to be forced to be taking the blue. Although, as I say forced. He can't really play this one with topspin. He probably has to go for the brown here, you know. He can't play the backspin shot on the blue either. He can't play straight in the face because he'll catch the pink. And I mean, I say he can't do that. But that's exactly what cost him in the previous shot. I mean, in the previous frame. I'll be surprised if he does it, but that's exactly what he's done. He's sort of lost the cue ball to an extent. And now he needs to slow down. He's going to be asking you to slow down. And as the cue ball always does, he listens to O'Sullivan. And he manages to slow down just about in time there for him to be lined up for the red. And I tell you what, if the black is available, then he's played an absolute perfect shot for himself. And he's going to get himself lined up very much in the mix of the action here. So 12 points. There's the advantage, trying to take the black as well into the right corner. Of course, the minor point for him to consider is that the black's still going to be in the way of a couple of those reds, and therefore the reds are going to be in the way of the black as well. So just try and take them one by one. Ideally, he wants to be straight on the black here to try and use loads of backspin to try and take it towards the right side cushion. Hasn't quite done it, but he may still be able to hold it with backspin, as he's got the minor angle to be forcing that cue ball down the lower end of the table. Now then, 27 points of the advantage. Still not going to be short in reds for the next 8 shots or so. So he's got 4 of those available. And that goes without saying that you can always try and develop more as you play those shots. And whatever you do in a position like that, you need to be making sure this is going to be the 3rd frame where you leave Murphy with not scoring any of those points, because the position looks absolutely tempting for him to rush back to the table and try and make it a total clearance and set himself up with a 4-3 of a gap to try and take into the next couple of frames. I mean, Ronnie once again there played a risky shot, but this time around it has worked out absolutely brilliantly for him. And he's still going to be lined up on the reds. He's still going to have more and more of those available next to his name. And quality commentary, thank you very much. And quality snooker now, as I say, by far when it comes to the such a low stage, last 16, you're not really going to see a much of a higher quality than that. Now 43 points is the advantage. He's going to have to play the cue ball into those reds. And look at that, once again, perfect cue ball control. The only thing that O'Sullivan can't control right now is his chalk. That seems to be falling all over the place there. But yeah, apart from that, the cue ball's perspective has certainly been absolutely sublime there. And for this part of the game being the most important one for him, as long as he manages to fix the unnecessary pot success misses, I'm not even going to blame him on the safety success as well. But now, he just needs to get over the line. He's got all of those reds very much available to him. He's got the break of 50 points as well. Just try and play the black into the left corner. He's going to be able to get that cue ball to be using loads of backspin off the right side. And once again lines up for the red to be taken into the left middle. He's still going to have 4 more reds available after that, and he's got 2 reds to be positioned on the side cushion, one closer to the left corner, one a bit further away from the right corner respectively. So then 58 points advantage, about to make it 65 now. So only needs 1 more red and a colour combination. Probably overplayed that one with top spin, backspin I should say. And he's going to have a shot now to try and take this red anyway. It probably wasn't the red that he was playing for. He's similar to the one that he missed in the previous frame. Not going to miss this one though. And it now leaves him with a frame ball to be set up for the pink. And if he gets this one in, Murphy will need 2 snookers to be taken. And he still has got no sign of slowing down. And I tell you what, this has been vintage Ronnie O'Sullivan, because as much as you feel like he's only winning by 4 frames to 3, but that's going to be an understatement to how well Murphy has been managing to play. And this is probably going to be one of the most disappointing matches for him to lose, because, as I say, it's not too far away of his best performances of the season, that Murphy, and he still finds himself 4-3 down after just a couple of those long reds mistakes there in this particular frame. GG's frame settler. Well, as I said, he always needed to try and get more of that count to winning frames to 0, because he keeps your opponent in his seat, and if he's going to be able to try and take it all the way there, then he's going to have a really nice chance to try and set the pace to this match. Now he's got 88 points of a break here. Once again losing the chalk. This time around the referee is going to be helping him out with this. And yeah, so it's going to be 96 of a break after he takes the black, which he wasn't able to do, so spoke too soon. Unfortunately, Century's not going to be there, as it's probably the only black of the spot that you've seen Ronnie O'Sullivan miss throughout the entire tournament. And long may continue. It's still a break of 89 points, which gets him over the line, and now puts him with 404 there. There certainly have been not a lot of those errors from O'Sullivan's point of view. And he gets him a 4-3 of a lead over Shaun Murphy. Is he going to be the last frame, or is Murphy going to have what it takes to try and force a decider and take it very much the distance for this match? Meanwhile, something that is very unlikely to happen in the match of Mark Allen against Joey Long, as Allen leads Joe by 4 frames to 0. Wuyiza is absolutely on a roll there, and certainly looking to try and win 4 frames on the bounce. And Ryan Day is not too far away from losing 4 frames on the bounce himself. Artemis Yezdens manages to turn the match on his head there. He was 2-0 down. He now finds himself 3-2 up there in the last 16, and very much a surge for the quarter-final place against either Ronnie O'Sullivan or Shaun Murphy. Now, thank you very much for everyone tuning in to the last 16 match. We're still going to have more of that, and it doesn't get any worse than this, by the way, because Gary Wilson against Zhao Xington, the world champion, are very much the favourite for the title this season, as long as he gets through the first couple of rounds, breaks the Crucible curse, and you feel like he's always going to be experiencing a bit more of those issues when he comes to the first to 10, and when he comes to first to 13, first to 17, first to 18, he just seems to be beating his opponents with a session to spare sometimes. Just ask Ronnie O'Sullivan and his performance at the Crucible last year. So then Ronnie has got a 4-3 lead, but what he mustn't do is just try and get carried away with it. It's very rarely, though, unless the same thing has happened with Lisowski, it's very rare this season that he's going to have a decider from this point onwards. Let's have a look at his latest head-to-head there, because I'm not sure well, I certainly know that Carter was the one that has taken it. Yeah, Carter was actually able to win that one without a decider, so 3 frames of the bounce that he's lost. Yeah, I'm looking at the match against Lisowski there. So let's have a look at the way that this is going to go. And yeah, well, Sullivan was playing catch-up there. He was 5-3 down. He was able to bring that match 5 frames each. And then that still lost out in the 11th frame as well there. And had to use... I didn't actually realise that he had 11 frames needed against Alan Taylor. So yeah, he's actually had, to be fair, that's probably the only decider, which certainly I can think of in this season, where he was leading by 5 frames to 4. He needed only 1 more frame win. Taylor was actually able to set himself up with the decider. And yeah, in the end, Ronnie was still able to win this one. And by the way, you're not going to get a better invitation than that. I know it's a long shot, but Ronnie absolutely must take this one on, and he must make it into the pocket. And it could come down to a red and a colour, and he will be the perfect setup for him. The red is missed. Let's see what he's going to give away. He's certainly going to have a couple of those. Well, it was a fine margin. It was a bit of a shot for the match, you would feel, but it was always going to be a bit too easy if you would have done it first time. And once again, that liability with his long shot game. I mean, as much as that one in the 4 frame was brilliant, and I keep talking about it, but he's still, to my memory, that is the only long shot that he's taken in the last couple of matches. Murphy's going to have a bit of a difficult cut now to be taken. He's taking it pretty well. Just needs the cue ball to slow down. And yeah, he was traveling all the way to the right middle. In the end, it's just going to be on the lower end of the blue here. So Murphy should still have a really good chance to try and hold the cue ball for another red there. But it's going to inevitably put a little bit of distance in between the cue ball and the next red for him to be taken. So then, once again, the position, the further the match goes, the more of a problem that both of the players seem to have with trying to get themselves lined up with an easier position to start with. But I feel like that's got something to do with the factor of, you know, we seem to have those chances very much at the start of the frame, whereas at the first couple of frames, we always seem to have them after a bit of a safety battle. So then, Murphy's about to take the black away from the pocket. And, well, would have liked to be slightly closer to those reds. That's going to get him with not the easiest of angles of all time. But also, you know, just because he doesn't make it an easy angle, it also makes it quite a difficult way for him to be lined up for the black. But he's managed to do it before. See if he's going to be able to do it again. Well, I'll tell you what, he's got only himself to blame there. I don't know why on earth you would play a shot like that in similar fashion. And he's managed to open up those reds nicely. That is such an un-Murphy-like miss there for him. He's missed the red, and he wasn't going to be easily lined up on the black anyway. Well, straight away, Ronnie's going for this red, and he's going to be a difficult one for him to be taking. Look at that, brilliantly played, and straight away onto the black ball cushion and onto the black ball spot there. This is now going to be do or die moment for Ronnie, because you simply cannot, in any shape of a competition, allow your opponent to be getting away with mistakes like that, especially when they've done, for once, you actually can see the opponent of Ronnie O'Sullivan doing all the hard work for him, and now all Ronnie needs to do is to try and get himself over the line here. Pressure, yes. He probably has to be down to pressure, but I also feel like I sense a little bit of frustration there with Murphy, because when you're seeing, like, and that comes purely from me speculating, but when I've seen him try and go for those breaks of 139, 62 in the first 3 frames, he always seems to have a smile on his face. As soon as that fade happens and the fantastic clearance in the 4th frame and the 5th frames, he always seems to have just gone back to the negative mood. And once again, it's pure speculation, but it seems to have an impact on his game as well, because he didn't have a long shot that he's made ever since that point, really. And he just seems to be feeding those easy chances away to Ronnie. And when for once, Ronnie's left it on the plate for him, on the plate in terms of he had a couple more of those reds to be taking, then he still doesn't seem like he was able to do anything with it. For now, Ronnie has got a sequence of very important shots to be played, because as he always does, he's not going to settle for 2 or 3 reds available to him. He wants them all. And now it's going to be 8 points available to him. And yeah, he's managing to find his way through to a red here to be taken into the corner. And he's managed to do all the hard work, really. Once again, getting lined up in between, playing for the blue or the brown. You feel like he's just about going to have the edge on taking the blue here. To be fair, once again, he's probably going to have the wrong angle for it. He would have liked to be on the left part of the table instead. So I'm going to be taking the yellow here. And try and get that cue ball to be heading all the way down the table. Doesn't want it too low though. And he seems to have played this one just about fine there, for him to have the connection with the red, so that he doesn't touch any of the other ones, and still has got a second chance basically of playing for the blue. But meanwhile, he does all of that. The points are going to start to accumulate. And he just managed to, I thought he was going to try and avoid the cannon with the reds. He's managed to use that as a perfect advantage. And now he's got every single one, but one of those reds available to himself. He also has 17 points of advantage. If 4-all, Ronnie will, well, he's got absolutely no right to even be thinking about 4-all. And yeah, he only has around 10 shots or so between himself and the quarterfinal place. So all about trying to make sure you don't do exactly what Murphy's done in the last couple of frames, and pressure can get even to the best of the players. And if Ronnie can calm himself down, he's not going to have an easier setup for such a difficult match there to be ended. He's now got 40 points of a break, 26 points of the advantage, still has got 5 reds lined up on the plate, and the best news for him, he's not even going to need all of them. So just try and take it as a practice day, but once again, from the body language, he seemed just about as relaxed as he has been throughout the entire match there. About to take another red, which you can probably count the ones that are going to be further away from the pocket right now, because the position should be sublime for all of them. Takes another one, slightly underneath the black there than he would have liked, and oh, I'll tell you what, I mean, he was slightly underneath the black, and one issue could result in a bigger issue there. He's still alright, but it's not quite as comfortable as he would have been. He needed to use the cluster of 3 reds to try and slow the cue ball down, but the 2 of them have actually got into the way of each other. That eliminates the 3 of the reds, and he's going to need the last one to be taken into the left corner. It's a rest shot. The angle probably should be in favour of himself. And yeah, he should be able to try and get this red with just a little bit of backspin. Trying to get that cue ball closer to the pink, and to find out, well, Selby's not playing. Now, the only thing that I found was he said medical reasons that he's pulled out, but I feel like it's not going to be any much of a story there. If Selby says it's for medical reasons, then you've got every single reason to believe that. As I say, out of 128 players, he probably comes across as the most professional of all of them. Now, the talk about professionalism, Ronnie was able to hold that cue ball for the pink, which gives him even less of a chance to make a mistake there on the next couple of reds. Now gives the referee very kindly a little bit of time to be getting that pink right next to the red, and that's going to compromise the red badly. But the good news for Ronnie is that he only needs a red and a colour, and he should be lined up with a frame win very much at his back, and certainly with Murphy needing snookers at that stage, and he's not going to get an easier match ball than this. The blue then to be taken into the left middle, and for this one to be taken as, for me, his best performance of the season. Probably, just as I say that, second best. You know, he's not going to be able to top up 2 maximums against Chris Wakelin in semi-final, but second best by a long margin for how few mistakes we've seen there. And shout out to Murphy. He's played some great snooker, managed to make this match close, but in the end, it is the greatest of all time, that he's called the greatest for a reason. And if he says he's going to try and get himself back to the very top of his form, well, I'll tell you what, he's not too far away if he's going to be able to play matches like that. He takes the blue as a foul, though. I feel like it's not really going to matter. I mean, that was a bit reckless, but in the end, it's not going to matter. And Sean Murphy is going to offer a handshake. 5 points in the end is going to go his way, but not a lot of those late frames have certainly gone his way. Ronnie O'Sullivan is able to win 3 out of the last 4 frames. And Ronnie O'Sullivan now progresses through to the quarterfinal, where he will be by far the favourite. Whether it will be against Ryan Day or Artemis Zizens remains to be seen. Have to wait and see. And Artemis Zizens now is still looking to threaten a 4-2 of a scoreline against Ryan Day. Anyway, feel free to tune in for the match of Zhao Xington against Gary Wilson as well. And Ronnie O'Sullivan, take a bow. That was a performance of a true champion, as he's now going to be a real threat for that World Open title. His odds were as low as 7 before the tournament started. They may be as low as 4.0 right now. So he's going to be a real threat, especially with his side of the draw being the more beneficial one. The fact that he avoids the likes of Watchalong and Zhao Xington before very much meeting one of them in the final potentially. So then, once again, thank you very much for everyone that tuned in. Great match, great entertainment. Commiserations to Murphy. Congratulations to Ronnie O'Sullivan. The best of all time. He's through to the quarterfinal, where he'll play either Ryan Day or Artemis Zizens. Speak to you soon. Last 16 next. Zhao Xington against Gary Wilson.